when Pokemon Red and Blue came out, that was not a big deal for you guys, right?
That was the biggest deal.
Really? Okay. I didn't know, because like you guys are a few years older than me, so
I think you and Chad are pretty close, aren't you?
Should we say our age? Should we say our ages on the podcast so we can't get like doxxed?
Just bleep it.
I'm 33, and this is mostly public information.
I'm 35. I'm fine with people knowing that.
Okay.
And Paul is 47.
I'm an old man. Jesus Christ. It was kind of special for me. I didn't really play it, but my siblings, were in the exact wheelhouse. They're around your age, Chad. So like they were in the honey hole for Pokemon. And I experienced it through them. Like I picked it up and created a. Could you create more than one save on those? You couldn't, right?
No. You could only get one.
Couldn't.
I think what I did was, I remember what happened.
You erased your siblings' save.
Yes, I erased their Mew and Missing No files. No, I think what happened was they were playing it and they were hot on it. On Blue and Red, and then Yellow came out, and I got a copy. I got whatever one they didn't want anymore, and I started playing that one. So I did experience it, but it wasn't like the sensation that it probably was for you two.
I know, like Blue had its fangs so in me that when I first played Pokemon, it wasn't even my copy. It was my best friend Rex, like telling me, like, dude, you got to try this.
Rex Manning?
No, I would never be best friends with Rex Manning. Fuck that guy.
Good. That was a test, Chad. You passed.
Yeah.
Shout out to the only good Rex, Chad's friend.
The only good Rex.
Chad, you had a friend named Rex. It makes much more sense that you named yourself Chopper when you went to camp.
Rex and Chopper never got to be together in the same room, though. I was only ever Chad with Rex.
It would have been too powerful, Rex and Chopper.
I should see how Rex is doing.
You should.
I was thinking the other day about Chopper, your Chopper moment.
Really?
Yeah, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about Final Fantasy VII, and I was thinking about Red 13 and how you are the Red 13 of our group, because like you were like a little baby boy, but you were playing a man when you were being Chopper.
I never got to that part in Final Fantasy 17. No, 17. Jesus. The remake when Red's like a pretender
in the remake. They haven't gotten to where Red.
Yeah, he shows up for a second. He's like, "Oh, Scallon."
You don't get to play as him, but he's a little friend that helps you in the fights.
In the second one, you'll get, and I'm assuming they'll talk about this. Spoilers for Final Fantasy, very old game. Red 13 is pretending to be an old man and is talking like an old man in Japanese. But he is actually a little baby boy.
It's true.
But he's also a cat.
also a cat.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
I love Red 13. I remember being like, whoa, you could have a cool, like, talking wolf guy as your party member? This RPG's crazy. I remember flipping through the booklet for Final Fantasy VII and seeing Red 13 in there and being like, what is happening?
Does anyone in Final Fantasy like address the fact that there's a talking cat?
Yes.
Like it's weird to them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You should be all over Final Fantasy VII. It's the debut of your boy Nomura.
Wait, Nomura didn't do the original 7?
Yes.
Oh my god, he did? I didn't realize that. I just thought he was just doing the remake.
Nomura didn't lead on 7, but he started out on 6 and had a little bit of creative input, and he had some creative input on 7. I think probably more than we think, because we get the seed of a lot of Nomura-isms I really don't like.
Like what?
Just like overly convoluted plot points.
Okay.
I mean, there's not that many zippers in 7.
that we could see.
Oh, the zippers were in their soul.
Yeah.
You had to really like stare at the pixels to pick out all the zippers that were in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nomura got his start in 7, and then he really had creative control, I think, on 10. That was his debut. So it's like 5 a.m, and I looked up what Nomura has been involved in. He actually got his start in Final Fantasy IV as a debugger in 1991, and then he did some graphics for Chrono Trigger and Front Mission, and he kind of had a little bit of a hand in everything that Square Enix did. He also did the original story for Final Fantasy VII with Hironobu Sakaguchi. I really can't be too mad at him, I guess,
for Final Fantasy X, because he was just a character designer on that. It appears he didn't really have a whole lot of story in that. Kingdom Hearts is all his. I kind of wanted to pin all of the stuff I don't like, the sort of maximalist storytelling of Kingdom Hearts that I see elsewhere in Final Fantasy games. I kind of wanted to pin that all on him, but I don't really think I can. So I think I'm going to have to just learn to accept a nuanced opinion of Tetsuya Nomura. So, sorry for slandering you, Mr. Nomura. Okay, bye.
Those are all those games, like we said right before the record, like I didn't get to have a PlayStation, so I just read the guides or read the PlayStation magazine about them. And I'm like, yeah, this is what it's like.
The PlayStation is the only retro console I keep with me is a PlayStation 2. Like, it's the only one. I don't really feel the need to replay Nintendo 64 games all that much, since, like, Nintendo is pretty good about keeping that stuff, well, they aren't that
Are
good.
they? I didn't want to challenge you, but, like, are they?
No, I thought about it as I was saying.
Yeah, they're good at selling it to you a second time, or third time, or fourth time.
They won't even let you buy them anymore. Now you have to just rent them. I hate the Nintendo Online service. It makes me so mad.
Chad, you're getting the opportunity to buy the game every single month.
It's the only way we'll get Nintendo involved in game preservation stuff is if they do this stupid subscription thing. So
a PlayStation 2 Slim is the ultimate system that you can have in your house, in my opinion.
Hell fuck yes.
Yeah.
It is the greatest entertainment console ever created. And DVDs are the ultimate format.
World-class stereo sound on your DVDs. Pop in your Saving Private Ryan and have yourself a blast.
Can we talk about formats for a second? There's something I wanted to share with you boys.
Okay. Oh, sure. I love formats.
I agree. The PlayStation's a great console. I never got to own. I went to a movie screening this weekend. I told you a little bit about it. I saw the 90s TMNT ripoff series, Warriors of Virtue, about 5 kangaroo men that have the powers of the elements. And well, that could be its own conversation.
Yeah, which feels like that might be a camp conversation due to the amount of questions I have for you.
Yeah, we should talk about that in camp.
I need to hear all about it because I do not remember that movie at all.
Wild movie, and cinematographer by same guy that did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, so it's really fascinating.
Incredible.
But the theater I went to, I spent money to go to a ticket, I'm going to go to a theater, I'm going to see this in a room. It was, quote, a micro theater, which just meant it was in like someone's garage, which was kind of charming, but also I was like, oh, this is illegal. This is an illegal operation.
That's even cooler.
Are you going to report them to for not getting
Better Business Bureau
for not getting the license to Warriors of Virtue?
Well, so I was like, it wasn't until I got there that I realized we won't be watching a film version. We are going to be watching the VHS copy of Warriors of Virtue, and the entire theater was a VHS store.
Okay,
and I discovered the rebirth of nostalgic VHS ownership being a real thing, and I'm a little confused by it because I find VHS to be a very inferior format.
Well, I have to agree with you, Chad. The VHS is a terrible format.
Magnets, a single magnet can ruin it. Like, you can get mold in them. It's an awful format, and apparently now it's like a rebirth of Zoomers and younger people going like, cool, VHS is how fun.
It's the same vibe I get with the rebirth of cassette tapes, where I'm like, this is a clearly inferior sound. Like, I get it's the Brian Eno quote, right? It's like people appreciate the artistry trying to burst through the limitations of that, but having lived through it and having lived through what ultimately was a big backward step in music and video, right? We had vinyl and film.
Yeah.
Beautiful, delightful formats for both those things. Oh, I would argue the peak for both of those in terms of quality. And then we had, for reasons of commercialism and capitalism, we had to take a dip down because the other things were way more mass producible and way cheaper to get out to people. And having lived through those times, it's not that good, guys. It's really not that good.
The movie started with and also I'm realizing I was spending money to just watch someone's VHS on a VCR. Right?
But what did you get? Hold on. So, like, if I remember correctly, a VHS in the 90s would always start with 1, an advertisement for a food chain. 2, 2 to 3 trailers for other children's movies. So what did you get in your pack?
That's a great question, Paul. I don't know if they just fast forwarded past that or what. They did not have the this place was very clearly into like 90s retro and played a bunch of like Burger King Kids Club commercials and stuff on the TV beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
But until they were just playing it off of YouTube. You know, it was a cool theater. Shout out to Whammy in Los Angeles. It was a cool little micro theater.
Sick.
But the opening thing on the VHS was, this film has been modified to fit on TV, kind of thing.
Oh, no. Pan and scan.
Your pan and scan was a 4x3. I'm like, oh, of course. Yeah, because that's what it was for home theater. But that means I'm not even seeing the full picture of this fucking film with kangaroo men jumping around.
What? Yeah, it's all cut off on the edges, and they spent $38 million for
it's wild. Yeah,
I will say the thing that should be enduring about VHS and cassettes is the enterprising spirit of piracy.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, that's true.
Sure. Great point, Kevin.
Because stealing stuff was what made those formats good. Like getting a song off the radio for free with just a little bit of talking over it. Or getting like the VHS passed down from before you were born that you've watched every Christmas with the penguin saying milk, it does a body good in an advertisement.
Getting up at 6 a.m. to live capture the Beast Wars episodes as they aired so I could have a way to rewatch Beast Wars. Like, that was a special experience. It wasn't better. But, you know.
But it was yours.
But it was mine. I didn't feel like I was playing a Pokemon game of like hiding in the bush and grabbing a little monster.
Right.
It was an event.
Definitely VHS was the peak for stealing video, I think. Eventually, I do think that once DVD burners became more prevalent, but that took a really long time.
I still haven't figured out how to rip and burn a DVD.
Yeah,
well, there was like 3 years where the DVD companies didn't know how to put like protection on them, and you could just grab everything with like handbrake. And then suddenly they started like fragmenting the video, so if you started to rip it, you get like 60 little mini videos. Yeah, they were smart. They were
Netflix
crafty.
Plus a DVD burner in the year 2003. Ooh,
oh
boy, you had it all.
Oh. To clarify for our younger audiences, Netflix used to just let you rent physical DVDs in the mail.
And I learned quickly that if you are a power user of Netflix, aka somebody who literally got the movies in, burnt them the day they came in, and sent them back in that same day, they put you on the back burner pretty quickly, and they slowed you down.
I didn't know that. I also did that technique. I didn't know that you got throttled.
Yeah, you get a little slowed down. It wasn't too bad. I was like, you would get like a DVD in like a day after you put it on your thing, right? Like it would come the next day or the day after. It started getting to be like 3 or 4 days after a while. Just because I was powering through.
They're like, this guy's going too hard. Slow him down.
This guy's gonna die. For his safety, we need to slow him down. No, but I agree. I think VHS was like the peak of video stealing, and obviously the mixtape of the cassette tape was beautiful. But I think the mix CD was the best. The best piracy of music.
That's where my nostalgic heart lives, is the mix CD.
Oh, the mix CD.
Yeah. You know what? Can I make one argument for the mixtape? Because I agree. The mix CD was better. And I made many a mix CD. I even had those like awful custom print labels where you could just like print out a sticker and put it on top. And it never fully... I had a bunch of like Gundam Wing art on like Incubus mixed CDs.
I want to go back to Indiana with you and drive around in your old car with your old CD binder and look through
my old busted Jeep. But the one thing about the mixtape, I think the one pro it had, was that because you couldn't skip forward, because it was an inferior format, you kind of had to listen to it.
Agreed.
Like you could, as opposed to, I have a very traumatic memory of making a mix CD for a girl that I liked, putting a lot of time into it, sitting in the car with her, and then watching her as she listened to it for like 5 seconds and then skip to the next song.
You dodged a bullet.
I know, but I was like, but no, you need to listen to the next 10 lyrics. It tells you how I feel.
Man, the confidence of listening to the mix CD together. That's
well, theoretically, this girl would have like listened to the whole thing with me, and then we would have, become boyfriend and girlfriend.
No, that's a bomb. The whole point of the mix CD is it's a bomb you drop and you run away.
I spit out my drink.
Like, it's not if I had the courage to like be next to a person and discuss my feelings about them, I wouldn't have to make them a fucking mix CD.
Yeah, he's right about that. But I mean, I think there's a lot of audacity. There's the audacity of Chad staying with it, staying in the room with the bomb, and then the audacity to skip the song.
I know, that's
I know. I was like, what do you do? Yeah.
You dodged a bullet because they obviously were careless with your feelings.
Welcome to Goosebuds.
Welcome to Goosebuds.
I am Chad. I'm sorry my voice is a little groggy today. I'm coming down from something.
You sound nice and gravelly. I'm Paul. I like the sound that you have right now.
Thank you.
I love rough Chad. I'm Kevin.
And usually we cover the YA books of R.L. Stine and other 90s books, but today we're doing a little slight detour into the Disney Channel original series, So Weird.
So Weird. It's so weird. I don't remember this show.
This was an interesting one, and I brought it to you two because I really wanted to talk about it. This was a series that premiered on the Disney Channel in 1999 when they did not have a lot of original content.
Yeah.
Is this before the big explosion in content that happened in like, oh my God, I hate saying the word content. Real quick, side note, don't call it content. Anyways, before they had a lot of TV shows that remember they got into that, like the buzzsaw was going in the early to mid aughts.
Yeah, this kind of precedes the Disney Idol phase, yes. Like the pre Lizzie McGuire, Hilary Duff.
Yeah.
This predates like the Disney chosen sacrificial girl phase.
Yes,
sure.
the factory pipeline to make a pop star into like the Camp Rock, High School Musical, all of those sort of things.
Okay.
Yeah, but it would become that in its final season.
Oh, okay. So, we'll get into it. I'm not going to start jumping ahead.
We'll get into it, but So Weird is basically this mashup of X-Files for kids, Scooby-Doo, like family drama, and like Goosebumps is obviously there. Like it's a contemporary of the Goosebumps TV show, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A Canadian television production.
Well, it was filmed partially in Toronto, but it's like a Canada Hollywood sort of.
Yeah, this episode took place in Chicago, and I didn't think that was Chicago.
It's Vancouver.
No.
It's Vancouver, which is the Hollywood of Toronto. I guess you could say is the Hollywood, but I would argue Vancouver is the Hollywood of Canada.
It's the Hollywood of people who don't want to spend too much money.
except now they're in Vancouver and they're spending a ton of money. Whoops.
But So Weird, I remember really, really liking So Weird, catching a few episodes here and there. My sister was really, really into it. But like after it aired, there was no like DVD. There was no there was no like re-release. They barely replayed the episodes at all. Mm-hmm. And it kind of fell into obscurity, and it was kind of this ultimate like, hey, do you remember this show or shows you might not remember or whatever?
Sure.
And then 2019 Disney Plus launches, and So Weird's in the original lineup, I guess.
20 years. Yeah, 20 years after its initial release, it comes back.
Yeah. So if you're interested in the history of So Weird, and I hope I inspire more people to watch So Weird, because I do think it's really, really good. Just based on this first episode alone, like I'd like to rediscover the series. But if you're interested in like the history and stuff and why Henry Winkler is attached to this project.
Henry? Yeah, I saw that name.
I saw he was in a later episode, and he's also an EP. I was like, I wish we had kind of watched that episode. I love me some Winkler.
I saw his name pop up after the credits, and spoiler, I enjoyed this episode a lot.
I love this episode. I love pilot episodes of many things. I just like watching pilot episodes and seeing like the seed of like what a show is going to become. I also love this episode so much.
Yeah, I was blown away, and I saw Henry Winkler, and I said, what can't that man do?
Winkler don't miss.
Winkler don't miss. His production company, Fair Dinkum Productions, an Australian phrase for when something is a good deal. Fair dinkum, mate.
Fair dinkum.
But he's not Australian.
I know. I don't know why he has that as his thing, but he's
cool. A worldly man. All right. If you want to know more about So Weird and like some more of the facts behind it, check out Behind the Magic on YouTube. They did a really good sort of explainer on So Weird.
I also enjoyed this episode. You know, Paul, you said you didn't remember this when Kevin suggested this. Like I've never heard this of this show. I don't remember this. And as soon as that theme song hit, it was like an old friend came back. I knew that I knew it immediately. I'm like, oh, that's where that's from. This theme song fucking rips.
It does rip. It is so good. And germane to our opening conversation, I think I might have just been a little too old for when this show came out in 1999. I was just entering high school status, so I think I was probably just a little out of the window, so that's probably why I missed it. But anyways, this song, here's what's beautiful about this song. It rips. There's a little flirtation with a Riot Girl sound, I feel, at the end of it.
The folk rock is like, it wasn't a pop sound at the time in the 90s, but if you were a 90s kid and you were growing up with cool parents, I guess, like you'd hear that kind of folk rock grunge kind of sound.
Right. She's like a Liz Phair type, right?
Yeah.
Like a mom.
I was going to say a little bit harder Sheryl Crow, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
I was going to say maybe a bit of a Joan Osborne.
Sure. Regardless of who she was inspired by, Lilith Fair headliner for sure, or at least side stage.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool that this is the theme song is sung by Molly
the actor.
Actor, who we haven't said this yet. You know, the main framing device was so weird is that a main girl, Fee, runs a website about paranormal stuff, but she lives on a traveling tour bus with her brother, her roadie's son, and their friend, and then her mother, who is like I guess kind of a somewhat famous rock star. So her own songs are diegetically in the show.
Yeah.
And her mom sings this theme song
about her awesome daughter who walks through flame and ice.
Yeah, can I read the lyrics?
Yes, please.
Spoken word version. I'm not going to sing it. Demons come from every side. In the darkness is the light. Out of the shadows of my life. In the darkness is the light. In the darkness is the light. Surrender will win the fight. This girl's walked on fire and ice.
Two things that are difficult to walk on. I just want to say.
But I come out on the other side of paradise. Paradise!
Dude. The dichotomy,
Chills.
the duality of those lyrics of fire and ice, of darkness and light, of victory and defeat together, the yin and the yang, beautiful.
It evokes like a more serious show, honestly. Like, I mean, this was a pretty like mature episode, but again, for Disney and for what this demographic was, this is more of a like supernatural type show or something.
Seeing what came before in Are You Afraid of the Dark, in Goosebumps, and what would eventually come later in television shows. Now, I'm not saying Disney did have a good run where I think they were making respectable content. I almost said it again.
Did it again.
I almost said it again. Content is what the business people call it when they're filling their hopper up with things to sell to you. Don't call it content.
Just consume content and get excited for more content.
Call it shows. You're not a business person buying content for your network. You do not need to call it that. I'm sorry. I'm upset about this.
Paul, you're my favorite content creator.
Oh, God. We all call it that. I'm not trying to judge anyone for saying that. Anyways, this show is so respectful. I think this show is respectful to kids' intelligence. Sadness.
Like, I don't, after like 9/11, I don't think we were allowed to make kids sad anymore.
No. I'm surprised at how much they got into this show.
Me too. They like the censors after 9/11 said that these children have felt the big sad. We cannot show them any more sad. They will push this country over the edge.
Do not sadden these children further. Little did they know that a little thing called emotional hardcore was on the horizon.
Kevin, I love that.
I love the intro we get where it's like, okay, so we get In the Darkness, big powerful like intro song already. Like we're like, okay, let's see some cool like Bigfoot's UFOs, and we start with an explainer on Chicago's Eastland disaster, which the Eastland was a boat that sank. that killed almost 1,000 people, killed like 844 people.
Shades of the molasses disaster in Boston.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I know the molasses. I know the Chicago.
We've talked about the Boston molasses flood before, right?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like, you know what it sounds like in my head? The really dark, horrifying version of, you know, when like 90s food commercials would be like, the cheese factory exploded.
Yes.
There's too many cheese blasters. It sounds like molasses candy had an explosion, but people died.
That's pretty precisely what happened.
Yeah, it's there's a more like work union safety sort of
For sure.
explanation to it. But yeah, but basically they put a bunch of molasses in a tank graded for water, and it exploded, and the tank burst in Boston, and people drowned in hot molasses in a very painful and scalding way to die.
Yeah, and it's like one of those disasters, though, right? That is kind of quieted, right? It's not really talked about. Like Chicago, like they talk about in this intro, the Chicago fire is what everybody knows, but there are other disasters that have been lost to time.
Yeah, and we're talking about duality. Like the Chicago fire is like a fire death, and the Eastland disaster is like a water death. We'll get to.
Oh yes.
Oh my God! Fire and ice.
Yeah, dude.
Mm-hmm. Fire and pre-ice.
Yeah, we get like this like kind of Ken Burnsy little explainer with Fee narrating about the Eastland disaster, and then we get this sort of sweeping view of Fee's room.
And I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but I think the kid likes science.
She has like a chart explaining UFO shapes. Like she's so moldery.
It's incredible. But there's also some really nice. There's a nice pan across a picture of a father holding his daughter during this.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff.
So you watched this 2 times. Did you notice that on your second viewing? Because I noticed that on my second viewing.
I think I picked up on the hold on it in the first, but you obviously know the context for it once you've watched it once.
Yeah, and you wouldn't. It should like trip a thing for you, because you wouldn't expect a tween or teen to have like their own baby picture on their wall. Like that would be an age where you'd find that kind of thing embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
So we learn the dad's dead. We
do find out the dad's dead.
To their credit, they do it more mature and darker than normal. I mean, I think it's a trope at this point for most kids' entertainment to be like single parent,
right?
For many reasons, but that seems to be a common thing. This is instead like, yeah, your mom's a single mom, but like we're gonna talk about your dad being dead and gone, and it seems like either the theme of this episode, or I'm gonna guess the entire season is. You know, is Fee trying to process her grief about her dad through the paranormal? There's a lot of like her believing in ghosts, or there's something on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Without
saying that line, I really appreciate it. There was subtext about, you know, because that's where dad is, as opposed to her brother saying, no, when you die, that's it. Everything's gone.
Yeah, and we'll get to that part. That part, I think, is one of the best parts of this episode. Again, I think it is very respectful of kids' intelligence, and the subtleties with which they treat this subject matter, I think, are pretty good. Like maybe for an adult, it's not quite as subtle as we would like in like a prestige television show, but I think for a kids show, it's pretty incredible.
I also think subtlety is overrated sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
I'm thinking of Garth Marenghi's great quote. I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Yeah.
I love that. It's incredible. There's no subtext in the fact that this girl likes aliens, science, the occult, and paranormal, because we pass through her room, land on her at her laptop, running her website. So weird, the website.
Yeah.
Fees so weird, where it is a forum / repository of knowledge.
This is that era of websites where you almost could just let it be a landing page for everything. This is one of those web pages that definitely had a guest book.
Oh, without a doubt. Yes. I love how the internet is treated in this, and it's a moment that brings you back to the beauty of the early internet when things weren't so instant. She goes to this her own website. She talked to her community to get knowledge about creatures.
The fact that you spell it out like that just makes me think about how far the internet has fallen.
Exactly. She has to and we'll get to it, but she has to put a line out, and she's like, "Well, close the laptop, and I'll come back to this in another 12 hours when the answers are in." And I thought about now. you would put that shit out on Twitter and then probably be getting instant responses, right? And there'd be no wait. And like, this is nice because it's like, people are going to consider their responses. They're going to carefully craft responses to her, probably, maybe. I don't know. That's how I'm reading it.
Well, nowadays you'd put like a Reddit thread, but then the first kind of comments would be like, why didn't you just Google it? Or like, no, you dumb fucking idiot. Yep. There was a little bit of a kinder conversation.
Sure.
I was really impressed with her website because yes, it's relatively truthful, like accurate to a website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of the time. Yeah.
Of the time. The only thing I'd maybe be like question on is that at one point early on, her brother sends like a prank animated GIF of like him coming out of a UFO or something.
Or it's like a Flash video. He did some great Flash work there.
Yeah, because he's like calling her a nerd at the same time he just like messed around in Macromedia Player or something. So I think he's the nerd if he did that. But
Clue probably helped him do it. So Jack and Clue, you may know those actors from the Disney Channel original movie Brink.
Okay, I knew I recognized
the lead of Brink and the best friend of Brink.
Yeah, they're great in this. Clue is like my favorite character. He's just Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But like, no, that's really it. He's just Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, but he's great.
He's got, I instantly found affinity for him because he kind of reminded me of like Uncle Cody from Step by Step. You know, like he kind of had those like those brain dead 90s surfer vibes. But but with an extremely kind heart and extreme empathy and emotional awareness and knowledge, because the first thing we hear is they're playing music, so we just assume brother playing music in other room, and he comes in to interrupt her research, and Clue comes in behind him and is like, look, and he's aware that like it was gonna bother her, and he's like, dude, we should have been like nicer to your sister, and he's like instantly wins us over with his kindness towards her.
Yeah, he's just a sweet boy. He's just a sweet dum-dum.
Yeah, he's a himbo, except he's skinny.
I really love this dynamic of being on this traveling bus because his dad is the lead roadie.
Yeah.
So it creates this inadvertently kind of like, family without being related.
Like a found family or chosen family situation. And that's I think a great moment in this is we are dropped into this room seemingly as if it were a children's room in a house. The brother comes in and the friend comes in. Again, we still feel like we're in a house, and then the whole thing shakes and the bus takes off.
I think it's a paranormal moment when the whole room shakes and everyone lurches, and then we get an outside shot of the bus.
And then we get an outside shot of the bus, and then you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. We're on the road. This is a freaking road show. We can go anywhere. This thing can be anything, and every week this can change, and instantly the possibilities open up, and this show becomes incredibly exciting within the first 5 minutes, in my opinion.
It's really cool.
I remember this being almost annoyingly exciting as a kid because I had many questions. One, how does she get internet in the van?
That's a great question.
She runs a broadband network cable like all the way to the nearest coffee shop.
Because I only had dial-up. Like,
that's a great point, Kevin. That's a great point.
In 1999, I couldn't conceive of like, how do you get the internet?
DSL, baby.
Yeah.
No, I only know about DSL because my uncle had it because he lived in the woods, so he had to have the dish internet.
You almost have to kind of just like let it ride because also Fee's room for a tour bus is very nice. Like,
oh yeah,
it is a full bedroom room.
There's no way it's like a car length wide or less than a car length wide. It's really nice. But I'll allow it. Like, it's fun. I'd rather have more information about her as a character than have things be like mathematically perfect for a tour van.
I said DSL, by the way. What I meant was satellite internet, which was available at the time, but it was very slow and crappy from what I remember.
It's almost definitely that, because I do like that we see the images like scroll loading.
Yeah. Oh, the classic 56K top to bottom load.
Yeah, it's just a thing you don't see anymore.
A simpler time.
One thing you mentioned about the website that was really interesting too is, halfway through the episode, Fee needs to get some more insight into what is this possible ghost I've seen. We should talk about the ghost. But she goes to her website, her own database. She's the webmaster.
Right.
And like you said, she puts out a link. That means that she is running a website with like active users.
Yeah.
And like that's pretty impressive as opposed to every website I ever made when I was that age was, here's my Gundam Wing fan site. No one reads it but me.
Oh, absolutely. But Fee proves to us that, she has a moment coming up very soon where you can see that she's very competent in not only her knowledge of this stuff, but also her investigative abilities are very competent. And she's unafraid of adults. She finds herself to be a peer of adults, not a child. Shades of Desdemona from a script that I read of Chad's at one point.
Wow. What a compliment.
Very proactive character. So to set this up, we see the bus take off and they arrive the next day in Chicago at the venue. Ned, the lead roadie and also tutor of the children, makes a remark about it not being what stadium does he say?
Dodger Stadium.
It's not Dodger Stadium. And she says, "You say that at everything." And he's like, "Yeah, because none of them have been Dodger Stadium yet."
It's pretty funny.
Pretty good line.
I love
Ned.
Ned.
Is great.
I love Ned. He has perfect delivery on every line. He's such a good actor. He plays Ox King in Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, his name is sick. It's David quote Squatch Ward. He kicks ass.
I love that he's Oscar.
Yeah, man. He's cool. David Squatch is cool. I think, to your point, Kevin, I think the acting in this is very good. Like, there's obviously some moments that are a little, flimsy, but like, I think overall, the kids do a great job. The brother Jack shows incredible range in this episode.
Yeah, he's great. At this point, he had already been on Broadway, I guess. Like, and he'd done a few movies. So, but like, he's just you kind of get that like musical theater presentation from him. Yeah, I think. But he's so emotive, and like, I do love that he's presented in a mostly antagonistic light when he's interacting with Fee. Mm-hmm. But then, like, when his mom pulls him aside, he's much different. But we'll get there. We do meet Ned, who's great. God, we meet we learn that they have to scrape the bugs off the, like, one of their chores they have to do is they have to scrape the bugs off the front of the tour bus.
Yep, bug duty or trash duty.
Yep.
And they very quickly, I loved this, was these kids are going to have somewhat of a normal education, which I assume doesn't happen for most kids who live in the entertainment industry.
I really appreciated this scene because it's a question that parents would ask, but kids wouldn't ask. Like, that you could omit this, right, for the kids, but they're like, no, it's important that these kids learn. Like, like these kids they're not living a traditional life, and they need to be taught. And I love that Ned, the roadie, a classic archetype of the road, who typically is the person who is probably as drunk as the rest of the band, sleeping until they have to load heavy stuff and then passing back out after everything is, sleeping and like probably being like, kind of a layabout otherwise when they're not doing their heavy lifting and whatnot, is a very responsible guy and lays out that the kids have to do an 8 to 10 page essay on the history of Chicago, which Cody has a great line. 8 to 10 pages? Who would keep writing after they get to page 8? Incredible. Clue, aka Uncle Cody. Incredible logic there, Clue. You're speaking my language, my man.
Yeah. Clue is the type to be like, oh, it's not long enough. Let's try like double point one spacing.
And
they try to. Well, go ahead.
They try to get one over on Ned. So you see where the kind of like affable, simple dude vibes come from for Clue, in that they try to get one over on their old dad Ned by being like, oh, you look tired, man. Like, you've been really working so hard. You've been hustling. And he plays along, lulls them into him thinking that they got him, and then swipes the rug out from under them at the last second.
He's like, yeah, it'd be really good to relax while I'm reading your papers. Get to it. And I'm like, cool. There's a little bit of a discipline here. These kids are there's the rules for them are very cool. Like, it's both a freedom that I would probably felt very wanting to be to myself as watching it, right? Like that sort of I want to have that life.
Yep.
I think at one point Fee's mom, she's like, I'm going to get on stage in an hour, but like, just make sure you're back on the bus by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cool. Like, what a trusting parent, but also still got some rules. I loved it.
Yep.
Yeah. The kids have so much freedom that it's like kind of nice to see the rules as a kid. Otherwise you'd be like, this is completely unrealistic. These adults, like, they just let them do whatever they want. Why can't I do whatever I want?
Yeah.
The balance of freedom and like regular life stuff is really cool, just because you get to see how they live. And after this school scene, we see Fee and Jack's mom, who didn't write down her name.
She doesn't get a lot to work with. Irene Bell is. I'm sorry. Molly Phillips. Are you talking about?
Molly. Yeah.
So Irene Bell is Ned's wife, who we also see in this episode. She only gets like 2 lines though.
Yeah, she's the manager of the band, I think.
Yeah, but Fee's mom is played by Mackenzie Phillips, who we already mentioned, sung the theme song and other songs in it. She's doing great. I loved her in this.
Yeah, I love this scene where she pulls Jack aside and she's like, "Hey,
Yes.
how do you think we're doing?" Because it's such a heavy like scene. It's her putting Jack in like a way more adult position than we've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was just like teasing his sister in the last scene we saw him, but now he has to be like the man of the family. He has to be like a sounding board for Molly, and like he's like we're doing great, like this was a good decision, and like your reviews are great, even though one guy called out how old you are to be a rock star. Brings up how his mom had did advertising for a few years and it was weird to see her in a suit. Like, it's a great little scene where you get like a nice little catch up. It's like it's good for like bringing the audience up to speed in a non in a natural sort of way, just to have Molly kind of be nervous and doubting herself.
Right.
Well, yeah, I loved that. It was about Molly, and also it was about like, hey, let's talk about Fee. How is she doing? Like, I don't know, just for the main character of the show to not be in there and having more of an adult conversation, it really matured it.
Yeah,
it's a great moment, and then we move on to her, doing her sound check, and now we get our first truly creepy moment, which is they're setting up. Fee is just digging into the owner of the venue because there's been creepy things happening there.
We get like a crying kid sound and like some Dutch angles.
Yep, the crying kid happens first. I'm sorry. So like the sound, everything drops out, but the sound of a child crying is just going through the whole building while all the power is out. Nothing is plugged in. To which we find out the owner of the venue says there are creepy occurrences all the time in this place, and Fee dives in. She wants all the information. She's following after this guy. She's not afraid or intimidated by him in any way. She's ready to investigate, and we're left off with that little bit of information.
I like how low budget creepy everything is in this episode. A lot of this almost has a Pete and Pete vibe.
Yes, I got that too. I absolutely got that.
Where it's all extremely location based.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty tame in terms of like what are the scares too. It's not. I don't know if it's a particularly scary episode. But it's still like
I agree, but I think like the ghost cry is pretty creepy sounding. Like I think it's like they do a lot with sound in this that I think works really well for me. There's another moment. I think the scariest moment in the scene in the show. Of release this episode towards the end of the episode is purely sound that does it, and we'll get there.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a creepy moment.
So Fee goes out to do some ghost hunting on her own. She brings a camera and she starts like walking through these halls,
and her big gulp. Do not forget she's got her big old cup of soda for energy.
God, nothing made me want orange soda.
Oh my goodness.
For whatever reason. More than 90s cartoons. Like, orange soda was so heavily marketed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Keenan and Kel were really pushing that.
Yes, they were. Yeah. It's the good stuff.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I haven't had an orange soda since I'm a man now. I haven't had orange soda since I became a man.
Obama said to put away childish things, and you just poured all your orange soda out.
I remember when Obama said that to me, and I found it kind of hurtful. When did Obama say to put away childish things?
Oh, that's just a quote he said one time.
What?
Well,
there comes a time to put away childish things. Is that him?
Yeah.
But he didn't complete the quote, which was like the need to put away childish things.
Yeah. One of my favorite subversions of that is there's like there's like a webcomic where someone's moving and it's like, now that I'm moving out of my college dorm, I found it a need to put away childish things, but I took them all back out when I unpacked.
I love that. I fucking love that.
I do want to clarify. I just quickly Googled it. I guess Obama didn't create that phrase.
No.
It is technically a paraphrase from 1 Corinthians of the Bible. So,
and Lewis Carroll famously, that's the subversion that I always liked, which was when I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up, which was always my favorite.
Damn, that's much better.
Yes,
I love this.
I always love that refrain.
I really like this tangent. That was very educational.
See, you listen to Goosebuds for political history, for insight into lost media. This podcast has it all.
Teachers, do you want to bring Goosebuds into your schools?
This is where we're announcing Goosebuds in the Classroom, our affiliate program where we will bribe you to play these episodes during class.
Sign up at goosebuds.edu.
Yes, we own the VHSs. No, we do not own the licenses, but yes, we are willing to play them without the license fee.
We will send you this episode on VHS. No, there's no video. It's just a blank screen, but you could listen to the audio coming from the TV set.
I love sending them a blank video and then being like, but start up our podcast on Spotify.com when you're ready to listen.
And then just, go have a smoke. Chill out for a bit.
Take a break.
You earned it. So Fee sees a ghost. She sees a little wet boy.
A wet boy. He runs into a wet boy. Kevin,
boy.
You said a wet boy. In my notes, I said, a wet boy. Always bad news when you see a wet boy. If you see a wet boy, run.
If you see a wet boy, get him a towel. He's cold.
He's dressed old-timey Chicago fancy.
Mm-hmm.
No jacket. It's important. He's just wearing a vest. He's wet, and he runs away. And if he's like, I gotta chase that wet boy, and she tries to run him down, but he disappears into a seeming dead end, where she sees this wet patch on the wall.
Mayhaps even some ectoplasm on the wall.
Perhaps.
That's what I guessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this where for a second she kind of gets like a second sight and can see through the wall for a moment?
That's a little later.
Okay.
But things happen kind of quickly after this. Fee goes back to her family and is like, I saw a ghost. And she's like, why was he wet if he died in the Chicago fire?
Mm-hmm.
And her brother, who's still giving her a hard time, is like, maybe he didn't die. Maybe he drowned in your orange soda.
Got her.
But file that away, listener, because maybe he did drown.
The fact that he says maybe he drowned in your orange soda is actually a subtle little infusion of connective tissue that does bubble up later on for Fiona.
Whoa!
Ooh, nice use of the word bubble.
Whoa! That was both insightful and I guess wordplay. So
enjoy. You're welcome.
Put us in your schools. So Fee has a little freak out at her family and says, I don't care if you believe me. She storms off. Her mom tries to console her, being like, working on your website, huh, sweetie? Like, I love how her mom doesn't really understand like the whole website thing, but she's just kind of supportive.
She's an alternative entrepreneur, and she understands that these little burgeoning tastes and recreations are good for Fee, so she supports them like a good mom.
I remember liking this because their mom was so alt.
Yes.
And like, my mom's pretty alt. So
yeah.
It was like, oh, cool. A non-traditional mom in media.
She's a pretty good mom. She has a failure of a line in this scene here where she approaches her, which we'll get to.
Yeah, what is it? Do you take it up, Paul?
I don't remember.
She sits down to ask her about, her website, and Fee says that she's been reaching out about Chicago Fire Ghosts. She's not getting anything like what she saw today. And she's like, you believe me, right, Mom? And then Mom fails a little bit right here where she says, I believe that it's important to you, which is the most, she just takes, it's a little bit of a cop-out. And
I kind of liked it. I kind of liked it as like a way to not lie to the kid.
Fee doesn't like it, and Fee sees right through it and gets pretty upset.
Well, she also doesn't want to be like, yes, child, ghosts are real. Now, good night.
Yeah, true. No, I get it. But I was like, oh,
She does fail with Fee in this moment. It does not hit for Fee.
And it's okay. I think it's okay for her to fail here.
If Fee needs a person in her corner at this time, and her mom kind of hedges it. So I can see why she's a little upset. But then we get this awesome, low budget, but very creepy sequence.
Yes. So Mom leaves and is like, good luck, Fee. Good luck. And Fee continues her search. She grabs her soda and takes a sip. And when she does, the thing that her brother said to her earlier maybe triggers a little bit her mind. And she sees the condensation on the top of the cup and rubs it with her finger and thinks about water, wet boy, and then drowning. And she goes, oh my God, drownings in Chicago. She does her search. She finds the news of what was the name of the sinking ship?
The Eastland. The Eastland.
The Eastland. The sinking of
I
the
had never
Eastland.
heard of this accident, but it's a real thing in Chicago.
Google that shit.
Google it.
I did. It's apparently the biggest disaster in the Great Lakes, or like the biggest, because it's like, oh, you're not an ocean liner. This isn't like the Titanic where it went out and got hit by an iceberg. This is just, the lake's not that big. You know what I mean? It's just a sad tragedy.
This boat had a record. Like on its first journey out, it like smashed into a tugboat and sank it, and like there was a mutiny on board, and like there's all kinds of cursed shit happening on the Eastland.
There's also, they mentioned this. It wasn't out at water. It wasn't out. It was tied to the dock and it rolled over.
The safest a ship can be.
Because I was kind of confused during this part. I was like, wait, how are they experiencing the boat sinking when they're on land? Oh, it's because it happened right next to the shore.
That's crazy. I didn't even know. I thought it was out at sea. I didn't know it was just tied up.
So they show the picture in the beginning of it on its side.
Yeah.
They're showing pictures. So one of the good things that this show does is it uses a lot of historical footage in the beginning, and then historical footage now, which it then in a way that I think any adult that has made something and understands how technology works would instantly see through. But for a good scare effect, it's worthwhile that they do this. They're showing this footage. She's looking through. She finds the information about the Eastland disaster. She's looking through pictures of it. And seeing the dead bodies, which I think is a fucked up thing to show on a kids show. We're seeing literal bodies being pulled out of water in pictures of people that have died in this, and bodies being taken.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it because it was old timey.
It's
I didn't even
old-timey.
think about that.
It's old timey, so it's a little degraded and a little distant, right? So it doesn't feel as graphic.
Yeah.
And so she's looking through the pictures, and she's like, "Oh my god, this is it. This is it." And she sees from her window, she looks at the venue, which is across the street because she's in the bus. She sees the exterior, which earlier in the episode we had a transition from, where they did this thing. In the very beginning of the episode, she's talking about the Eastland disasters in a Ken Burns style. And the last shot is of a warehouse where they put all the bodies of the people that they pulled out of the water. And they fake it as if it were a photo where they have people staged standing by the warehouse. And what it does is it's shot in modern technology, but they age it to make it look like it's a photograph, and they have the people standing there just stand still as if they're in a photograph. It transitions from the old style to a color style, and they're still standing perfectly still. Then a car wipes across the screen, bringing us to the modern time and showing us the modern exterior of the venue, which we don't know we're in front of right now. Where we don't know that we're going to right now, and that's when we go into the bedroom, and we're taken away from it, and we forget about it. But now we're brought back to that opening shot, and she's looking out the window. She makes the connection. Oh my God, these are the ghosts from the Eastland disaster.
Paul, I just want to say, I love hearing you break down shots like that because it's so cool to hear.
Yeah,
it's a really impressive bit of direction in this part, and it really made me like appreciate what they're doing. And again, so here's the part where it kind of breaks down, and I think it's fine. It's an enhance moment.
Yeah,
there's a serious enhance moment that occurs here, and we can chalk it up to supernatural stuff, but it's an enhance moment. She's going through the pictures after she makes this connection, and she sees the boy that she saw earlier. She sees Wet Boy. Wet Boy.
Well, he's not wet at the time of the photo. This is a dry boy.
This is the origin story of Wet Boy.
They see pre-Wet Boy.
Pre-Wet Boy is standing there with his parents at the rail of a ship, looking out. And this is where it gets unrealistic. This is the enhance moment. It zooms in. The picture zooms in on his face, which is fucking weird.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
It doesn't just zoom in on his face. He turns and Zoolander's the camera.
He blue steals, and in a moment that, okay, it's not really scary, especially the second time watching it, but when I was watching it the first time, I was like, that's cool and creepy. Have you guys seen the movie Pulse?
No.
Was that one where the Wi-Fi is haunted?
It's a haunted internet Japanese movie. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
This is a very Pulse style moment. If you haven't watched the movie, the 2006 movie Pulse, do not watch the American version of it.
I've only seen the American one because Kirsten Bell is in it.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I watched it. Yeah.
Do not watch that one. Watch the original Japanese one. It's incredible. I will say it's incredible. I think it's a very, very good movie. There are some really cool things he does with digital footage in that movie and makes digital footage really scary. And I think this in my opinion, probably was, I don't know, I think a little bit influenced by it. But I think it's a scary moment. He turns, he blue steals, and it's creepy.
Like, it's a great internet horror moment where, like, we think of the internet as stuff we just get things out of, but what if it's getting something out of us? Like, so it's something we experience, but what if it experiences us back?
Yep.
Then, the kid turns and, like, you're like, oh, no, I thought it was a still image because I've been served only still images up to this moment. And, like, the kid's, like, mouthing, help me.
Very scary. I just want to say there's a constant refrain in the movie Pulse where the voices coming from the internet say help me constantly. So I don't know. I think there's a little bit of a connection. I think came out. Actually, hold on. No, Pulse came out in 2001 after this. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Pulse was newer.
Pulse was influenced by So Weird. I'm saying it now.
What Fee needed to do as soon as that happened, I know she freaks out, and then I think this is where her laptop gets thrown across the room.
Well, her laptop starts leaking.
Yeah. Oh, that laptop's ruined no matter what. There's just like it's crying, like it's just bleeding water.
It's absurd.
It's such a great low budget scare too, because they just rig a hose up to the bottom of it. Like, it's
just flood that laptop.
It's just delivered so well. The presentation is what sells it. And it's just, the laptop is crying and it's like flooding with water and then it flies across the room and smashes into a million pieces.
I guess, I was about to suggest, I guess it wouldn't matter since the laptop got destroyed, but what Fee should have done in the moment that the ghost boy, the JPEG
wet boy
was haunted, she should have quickly right-clicked saved as and then trapped that ghost.
Should right-click saved as, send a Dropbox.
Isolate the ghost. Don't put him on the cloud. Wait, don't put him on the cloud. Then he can get onto all the other.
Oh, that's true. I was gonna say learn file preservation, Fee, but maybe she was doing us a favor.
Put him on a USB drive and then throw that in the ocean.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't do that. She just goes and gets Jack and Clue, and she's like, we're gonna go find a ghost boy, dweebs. He drowned, and we're gonna go find him.
It's so good because she runs in there. Jack is being Jack, which he's always doing. Jack does a great job in this episode of having, like you said, I think like kind of a theatrical. He's like constantly quoting things. Like he does like a resistance is futile. He eventually does a check, please. And like you hate these things and you're supposed to hate him. And I think that like is what is really effective. And he's being that way when she shows up with the proof that she has seen a ghost and she knows where the ghost came from. And Clue is ready to rock. Clue, who's eating a burrito popsicle, as he calls it, is ready to go exploring. He throws off the robe and he's like, let's go.
The Clue moment of him opening up a freezer and eating a frozen burrito and Jack being like, we don't have a microwave. And he's like, that's fine. It's like a burrito-sicle. I didn't know that was stoner humor at the time, but...
Right.
Well, even Clue doesn't know it at the time that he's a stoner, but he will be a stoner.
He's destined for stonerdom.
Actually, you just helped me kind of realize the dynamic between, Clue notwithstanding, like the dynamic between Fee and her brother is very much this is X-Files. I guess it just would be if you swapped the personalities with who's the skeptic and who's the believer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fee is like, no nonsense, I believe. So I guess she's kind of Scully's temperament with Mulder's belief.
Yeah.
And then Jack is the opposite.
Yeah.
He's the like, none of this is real. You're insane, but also check, please.
Yeah.
She got all the good qualities of both characters, and he got all the bad qualities of both characters.
Yeah.
I guess that's one way to look at it. I actually really like how Jack is a doubter.
Oh, you need it. You need it for the story. You need the skeptic to challenge it, for sure.
And I guess a proto-internet atheist.
Right. He does have... he has, like, empathy. Too. Like he's hiding some empathy behind. Look, they're both going through some shit. Their dad passed away probably not too long ago, so there's some reason for his I think maybe a little bit of his misplaced aggression, right?
Sure. The peak of that dynamic, which I think is then the kind of the next scene where they're heading into when they're exploring the warehouse, is really just them. We've already talked about this a little bit. It is again Jack challenging Fee to be like, none of this is real. When you die, that's it.
Right.
Which is a heavy thing to say in a kid's show. But they are talking about their dad. They're like, Jack's a little bit older, I think, and he has moved on or trying to move on. And Fee is holding on to it's so I just assume that at some point in the show, the way that like in X-Files would be Mulder finding his sister, that in this version of the show of So Weird, at some point they would like see their dad's ghost or something.
Right. Yeah, I think they do more with the dad in season 1 and 2. Like, how he died is apparently mysterious.
Okay.
They say it's a car accident, but it might not have been a car accident.
Winter Soldier got him.
Yeah. We get some more low budget scares with a wet patch appearing on Fee's shoulder when she's separated from the Scooby gang and she's pulled off.
The worst scare in this thing, a little piss pantsy, in a way.
Yeah. It's just kind of lame.
It's a little pee-pee pants a bit.
Yeah, it shows the extent of Wet Boy's powers. I love what a low-level ghost Wet Boy is.
He'll make you damp.
He'll make it so damp.
They'll ruin your 12-year-old life by making you piss your pants in public.
Oh my god, it's over after that. Oh. Check, please. So he gets dragged off to the same dead end that she saw earlier. Now she can see through to the next room due to ghost powers.
Yep.
Her magnetometer, her ghost detector is going crazy. And we get a nice little science moment where she's like, my magnetometer is going crazy. And Jack's like, you know what has big magnets in it? Speakers that the rock and roll band downstairs is using.
It's great.
That.
Maybe that's affecting your device. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, logic.
That's a good way to teach kids that speakers have magnets.
We have a learning moment within the children's program. It's beautiful.
Magnets, how do they work? Clue has the idea to go down and then up into the walled off room, which is a brilliant bit of spatial intelligence from Clue.
Agreed.
Clue's based. best character. He did voice Sid in Toy Story, but that's fine.
I saw that. I was shocked to find out he was Sid. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting career this guy has had. I wonder if he's done anything lately. I hope he's alive. Kevin?
Eric Von Detten is fine. He's a sales manager at a commodities brokerage firm, so I guess he's just a normal guy now. That's cool. I'm glad he's fine and alive. So that's good. Okay, bye.
Brink is great. Best Disney Channel original movie is Brink.
And it's based on a story about ice skating.
What? Really?
It's based on a story called Hans Brinker.
I think you're making
no,
fun of
he's
me.
right. The novel
Chad?
Hans Brinker or The Silver Skates. Wow.
Yep.
Is Team Pup and Suds at all somehow in the original story?
I don't believe so. I believe that was an invention for the film, but
Okay.
you can you can Wikipedia it yourself because it's a real thing that this was just based off an old timey like Gift of the Magi story, I guess, or whatever.
Cool.
Sick.
Once the Scooby Gang gets together, there's a lot of really funny dialogue. I love how like they just kind of pack some jokes into this really tense moment.
Right.
So they get to like this final destination level where they break in through the floor and you hear like a squeak and a scurrying and Jack goes, what was that? And Clue goes, rats, I bet. They're all over the city.
But they're more afraid of us than we are of them.
I hope.
I hope. And then we get a check, please.
Check, please. And she's like, guys, we got to figure out why this 85-year-old kid is bullying me. I love this. I like this is the type of snappy dialogue I like.
Yep. It's a really good snappy moment. And then we get Chad, to your point, this is where they start to investigate and Jack pulls Fee aside and is like, listen, ghosts aren't real. When you die, you die. You're gone forever. There's nowhere to and we know he's talking about her dad and he's like, let it go. And essentially he is trying to move on from their father's death. He feels that she is holding on, and by holding on, holding him back from getting over it, and he just wants both of them to move on because it's a pain that they don't want to deal with anymore. But we never say we're talking about dad in this situation. It's never brought up directly, but I think a kid and an adult obviously will pick up on the subtext of this scene.
It's such a raw line where he says, I hate this. I hate that you keep doing this.
Yep.
Yeah.
It establishes like why Jack's been acting like such an asshole lately. Mm-hmm. It's because, yeah, Jack is just trying to move on. All this ghost stuff is really dredging up a lot for Jack.
Right.
And we get this line earlier from Clue where Jack's like, why would a ghost want to talk to you? And Clue's like, well, maybe Fee's the first one who's willing to listen.
Yeah.
And we saw earlier how like the manager of the club like just sort of was like, hey, I'm crying kid. That's great. Ghost is good for business.
Well, that'll get him out of the Hard Rock Cafe and come down here.
We see
it's
this
not
sort
Chicago at all. We're not even doing Chicago. Never mind. It's fine.
Hey, it's me, Chicago Dave.
Hey, the Bears.
Hey, I'm Chicagoing over here.
Hot dogs and pizza.
Just a Midwestern. This really hurts me. Please continue.
I'm sorry, Chad. Sorry to make light of the Midwest one maritime disaster. Fee's the one willing to listen. And we see how their father's death has closed Jack off and how it's made Fee open up a bit. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to explore this idea of grief, of how it can change people, maybe for good, maybe for ill, but it does change people. And grief is not like a thing you get over. It's a thing you continually have to process. This is a lot for a Disney Channel TV show, but they're doing it so good.
They're doing it good, and they're not pandering to the kids. They're expecting them to keep up with the subtleties and the backstory that is being threaded into this story of a pretty traditional ghost story. You know, a kid that was lost and has been separated via the after, like an afterlife separation, more so than a regular life separation, right?
But then, we get into this scene about Wet Boy that legitimately made me tear up a bit.
Yeah.
It's brutal. So Jack is ejected from the room for being a non-believer. Clue is covered up with blankets as the room, we think like some force has pushed this trunk over the ladder leading up to the room, but it's that the room itself is capsizing like the boat that Wet Boy drowned on.
It's a great moment of high-ish production value for a children's TV show, where they actually have one of those rotating rooms, right? And they utilize it to...
Is that what you think happened there, or do you think they just put stuff on wires and pulled it?
I think it was a room that was on like a lifter, right? And they brought it up to like a 35, 45 degree angle and started pushing stuff down around them.
Yeah, it was a pretty bland windowless room. It was probably definitely possible to just sort of build a stagey version of that and then put it on the lifter.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I think it was.
They probably just had a forklift on the other side, just like badly raising the whole thing, breaking all of the OSHA violations.
Yep.
So the room capsizes like a boat. Clue is covered, taken out of the equation entirely, and then we see a face that we're not expecting to see. It's the face of like an older middle-aged guy.
Yeah.
Who's in distress. We see him, he's like shouting and reaching, and we're kind of seeing this pastiche of this room and the Eastland as it's capsizing, and we see Wet Boy's parents being separated from Wet Boy.
Every time.
But all the sound has cut out.
Right.
Essentially.
Right.
Which, was this your audio moment,
Yeah,
Paul?
yeah. So we see this scene play out, and we're obviously witnessing the moment that Wet Boy fell to his death during the ship. And I'm assuming the parents also died, because it seems like they were on the railing on the side where the ship was capsizing. Either that, or they were on the opposite side and they fell into the water from there. And it's a very, very sad, and like we're seeing a moment very similar to the loss of their father, right? Like we're seeing like this family be torn apart by death. It just so happens that everybody in this family dies, as opposed to... I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I assumed that the parents also died in the accident, but it's quite possible...
I did too, yeah.
It's quite possible only the boy died.
It almost makes more sense, because there's all this that we talked about before of the...
Well, no one could identify him.
They couldn't identify him, so it'd be easier to identify if they all died. If they all died.
Or it would be harder to identify if they all died, because there wouldn't be the direct parents who could recognize him, right? Which I guess is implied.
And given the huge casualty count of the Eastland, like 844 people died.
Yeah.
Like not great odds for anyone on that boat.
Yeah, it's a pretty big disaster, and I think that they all passed away. So we're seeing them die. The boy falls. As he slides past Fee, she reaches out and she grabs his coat, and then he disappears. And then the spell breaks. But there's this moment, and this is the moment. We have this silence. And then after this, we have a pretty long, like, I want to say like 30 seconds of Fee standing in the room with the jacket in her hand. And it's mostly silence, but there's like a creepy tone that's occurring and like a slight musicality to the thing. Almost, I always say it. I fucking always say it. I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it here. Lynchian sound design in this moment.
I love it. Also, not to clarify, she pulls his jacket from the spirit.
Right.
She manifests.
Right. She can reach across.
And we see that his name, Wet Boy, is written on the back of his jacket. No, it's Brian McGively.
AKA Wet Boy.
It's written, gotta hope I never die by drowning, it says on the back of the jacket.
Brian, quotation marks, Wet Boy, McGivoy.
So sad.
Parentheses, the ghost that you saw.
Double parentheses, hey, you got any more of that orange soda?
Hey, we didn't have orange soda in my time, and Wet Boy could use a sippy.
I haven't passed on because I want to taste a sweet, sweet orange soda.
Sweeter than apples.
So
and then we get a great joke at the end of this, just to break up the tension a little bit before another pretty heavy scene.
Yeah.
We hear creaking, and Jack goes rat, Clue goes ghost, and Fee goes floorboards, and drops through the room to see the green room that her mom and Clue's parents are waiting in.
Yep.
She's like, "Hey, Mom, good luck at the show tonight." Good little, just a wacky little,
a good little button, right? Bring us back to reality. We have the button, and then we move to the graveyard, where we learn that Fee was able to uncover Wet Boy's true identity, and they are going to move his plot to his parents' plot, move his unmarked grave to his parents' plot with his name on it, reconnecting their remains, and we have a reconnection of Jack and Fee in this moment as well.
This is like the best argument for, like, this is just such a nice, sweet thing to do. And if you have Jack's mentality of nothing matters after you die, you would not do this, because why the fuck would you do something nice for a dead person? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But Fee's like, so he can be with his mom and dad, and it's just, that is such a beautiful, lovely human thing to do. Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little obsessed with that idea of doing a nice thing for a dead person. I mean, we should do nice things for alive people. That should probably take priority.
Sure.
But I think it is a beautiful expression of humanity to do a nice thing for a dead person, like reunite a lost child's corpse with his parents' corpses.
I agree with you. And I think Jack recognizes that it's just Jack and her standing there, and Jack, I think he's a little touched by it, and he says, hey, Mom asked me about how you were doing, and in a good sweet older brother moment says, don't worry, I didn't tell her anything. I didn't tell her much, but I would like to tell her the next time she asks that you're doing well. And he begins to walk away. He pauses. He turns around, and he has a moment here where he does some good facial acting. He considers, and he says, I think about Dad too, and then walks away.
Yeah, you can see the gears turning in his head, and he's like, I think it would help me to talk about this.
Yeah.
He's like, I think about Dad a lot too. And it's great because he's been a dickhead for this entire episode.
And he stays a dickhead in the sense that he doesn't say he's sorry, right? He doesn't apologize. So it leaves him a
let's
window.
not go crazy, Paul.
No, and that's beautiful.
Right?
That's beautiful because it allows him to still pick up the dickhead thread in the next episode to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
A man only has 3 apologies in his life. You got to pick them carefully.
This is a good episode of TV. I really liked this.
Yeah, and we have a good ending where Mom comes in, she closes the loop with her daughter, and then there's I think one last really cool sequence where Fee turns around, having completed her job. She's walking away, and we see the 3 ghosts reconnected behind her, and she senses it and turns around again, and they're gone. And then episode ends. I
love that she doesn't get to see them. I like that we don't have like a wave moment or anything like that.
Exactly.
It's just like an acknowledgement of the hidden world, but the hidden world is special because it's hidden.
Right.
And maybe she'll discover more in the rest of the series of So Weird.
Such a baller pilot episode.
Dude.
It's a solid pilot.
Then Henry Winkler's name appears to let us know that we're in good hands for the rest of the season, right?
To let us know we just got Winklered.
You got winked, bitch.
I feel like nowadays this show would have had one big like series arc tease more on the dad of like, and then Fee sees the Shadow King in a dream. Shadow King or something like that.
Right.
Apparently the later seasons did something like the 3rd season, which doesn't have Fee in it, did some weird shit where like there's a panther or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was reading about that. They swapped leads because the lead actress Fee wanted to explore other roles, and then the new actress
and Clue leaves in season 2 to do a sitcom that died in its first season in a very sort of BoJack Horseman kind of twist.
Oh man,
TV's tough. We didn't talk about how when Damp Boy runs into the wall and she touches the ectoplasm, she says the titular line.
Yeah, she goes,
"So
weird."
I fucking can't believe I just let this "so weird" wash over me.
And that's the episode break too. Like, it's great.
I hope that she says "so weird" in every episode. Please tell me that happens.
Okay, so I know this is a bit of a departure. It's in the same wheelhouse as Goosebumps, but I know this is a bit of departure. I really hope folks like this is just a good thing, and I hope folks like watch it. If you already have a Disney Plus subscription, you can watch on Disney Plus. But this has such a history of like piracy behind it because Disney did not make it available until a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So for 20 years of its life, like, it basically existed as pirate only content.
Right.
You can still find all of So Weird on YouTube if you don't want to pay for it. There's nothing illegal about typing something into a search bar. If you don't want to give the mouse your money and you want to see something cool, I'm almost positive all the So Weird episodes are in beautiful bad quality on
beautiful
YouTube.
480p out there.
Yeah.
I do got to say, I was watching the episode and the next episode's title popped up and it was called Website, but SIGHT, which I thought was a sick name for an episode. And I have Website. I don't know about you guys. I personally have the ability of Website where I can look at anything on the internet and know if it sucks instantly.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's the true website. I wish I had that. I would have saved a whole lot of my time.
Same.
Hone your website, people. You can do it. It's a skill that you can grow.
I would absolutely love to talk about more episodes of So Weird, but only if like folks are like our listeners are interested in it.
Yeah.
I think this is like a great show. I think there are tons of episodes we could sort of single out to talk about, but I recognize that this is a Goosebumps podcast and it's not going to turn into a So Weird podcast.
For sure. But if people were interested in more of this, I would certainly be willing to watch more. And, if it's not for the main show, it's certainly a thing that we could cover on a Camp Goosebuds.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to probably watch the rest of seasons 1 and 2 of my own volition.
I want to see that Winkler episode at the very least.
Oh, yes. Got to see the Winkler. I really want to see the Will-O-Wisp episode and the Tulpa episode, again, to bring up a Twin Peaks thing. Tulpas are a cool creature.
Yeah. There's a Bigfoot episode, I think, very early on in season 1. Like,
the name of that episode is Sacrifice.
Oh, shit. That's a dark name for a Bigfoot episode.
They killed the Bigfoot. Sacrifice him.
Oh, that's kind of metal, dude. Overall, watching this seemed like I was watching something that was targeted at my nostalgia, but it was just trying to be of the moment.
Right.
Like the all this old like internet stuff, like the folk rock, and like it just wanted to sort of express a moment. But looking back at it, it just feels like it's like coming at me for like the things I was specifically nostalgic for. Like it was recreated just to do that.
It is a beautiful time capsule of the late 90s, early 2000s for sure.
Yeah. And the fact that it's just 3 seasons, 1999, 2000, and then something terrible in 2001 is very evocative of the time, I feel.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Limitless potential. Everything's going to be amazing. Oh, shit.
Future's canceled.
Future's canceled.
I think that's been an episode of Goosebuds.
Yeah.
I think we didn't bump, but we butted today.
We butted.
Hey, if you want to support the show and get access to bonus content like our monthly episodes of Camp Goosebuds, like maybe where we'll talk more about So Weird and other maybe we'll talk more about VHS media. You can go to patreon.com/Goosebuds. You can pledge and also get access to our Discord and vote on what books we're going to read next and a bunch of other cool things. It's a real nice community over there.
Join us.
Patreon.com/Goosebuds.
Join our Discord. You can join our Discord if you give us $1, and that's a pretty good deal because the Discord's pretty cool. Sometimes I accidentally post in the wrong channel in Discord because I'm a grandpa and I don't understand how Discord works. But that's always fun.
Be there.
Kevin, you got a game jam going on right now, right?
I have a game jam going on right now. It's going to the end of the month. If you want to join, it's very chill. You do not have to be working the whole month. In fact, I prefer you don't. But if you want to make something as sort of a guided creativity exercise, you can check us out at jammed@supertrystudios.com. Doesn't have to be a game. It can be anything you want. I'm making a game about anti-gravity skateboards.
It looks so cool.
It does look very good. The GIFs and videos I've seen of it have looked so fun.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, it's coming together really nice, and I'm having a lot of fun working on it. And I just put up a work in progress build for my patrons to play. If you want to give me some money on the givekevinmoney.com, you can play my stuff. There are also other secret games on there. I'm trying to show off more this year. There's a whole podcast I haven't released from my Patreon yet, but I make really cool things on my Patreon. If you want to support me at givekevinmoney.com, I'd really appreciate it.
Kevin, do you have a name for your game you're working on yet?
I was going to call it a Michael P. Sunglasses Pro Skater.
That's just the name of the game?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, never mind. That's much better than what I was going to suggest. Since it was a box looking character, I was going to say Gleaming the Cube.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say Tony Box Pro Skater.
It's also good. Paul, anything you want to plug or mention? I like that Diver's Dream episode you all just put up on Continue. It was very fun.
I gotta say, we've been having a lot of fun over on Continue. We always have fun over there, but I feel like recently we've been having a lot of fun in that I've been forcing the boys, Josh and Nick, my co-host of Continue, to play Japanese games with me. Because I've been learning Japanese and I have just enough, I think, to be able to like stumble through now and find stuff, figure out how these games work. So we've been doing a little bit more of that, and we just played a game called Diver's Dream, which is all in English, so it wasn't an issue. But it's a cool Japanese game, and then we got a game coming up probably after this episode, or sorry, it'll be out before this episode goes up, but it'll be out when you hear this. A game called Poppin' Tanks, which is a really goofy time. It's like a cartoony Twisted Metal in Japan. It's cool.
That sounds
fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I've been loving all the Japanese games you've been reviewing, like Kaze no Notam was like super cool, the ballooning game.
I just bought the vinyl for that. It just was re-released in Japan, and I'm having it shipped from Japan to me. Spent too much money on that, but it's going to be worth it.
Dude, you gotta treat yourself.
Sometimes you gotta treat yourself.
I'm still not sure what the egg game you played. I'm still not sure what the objective was of that game.
No one does, and it might be better off.
You have to be specific on which egg game.
No, the one that's just called Egg
is the one where you roll the egg and you like it's in circle territory.
Yeah, it's like an RTS or something with an egg. I didn't understand it.
I took one look at that game and I was like, I understand this perfectly.
Well, of course, you have the second sight. I get it.
That's my website.
If any of these sound interested to you, please check out youtube.com/continue show. You can also support us on Patreon there. It helps me stay alive. It doesn't help Chad and Kevin stay alive. But if you're helping us already and you're helping Kevin already and you got a little bit more money and you want to help someone stay alive, feel free to do that on our Patreon.
Or if you only like Paul.
Don't. I would hate to say. I'm not going to say that, but if Chad can.
I mean, however you want to express that, as long as it's not mean to me. If you're giving Paul money,
please don't be mean to me. I'm very sensitive.
Be nice.
Got enough people being mean to me on the internet. You don't have to pile on.
Be nice. Everybody, just be nice. That's my suggestion for the week. Be nice.
Hell yeah, dude.
Be nice. All right, guys. Until next time, I'll see you then.
All right, bye everybody. Don't call it content.
Bye everybody.
This episode of Goosebuds is brought to you by our wonderful Patreon supporters, especially those in the Book of Names.
The Book of Names.
Starting with Stefan Jive Turkey Kuwabara,
Hollis Hornbeak,
Low Belly Hate Me.
Cameron Murphy Audio.
Michael McDowell.
Hey Josh Rob.
Mickey C.
Nathan Dolezal.
Buddy Morrill.
Alacade.
Mel Dibson.
Afsheen.
Brian Wells.
Zenticles.
Stealth Bates.
Robert Moon.
Jason Crooker.
Clay Castle.
Miguel Pardo.
John Keaty.
Calf.
Peace Shop.
Adrian Rosas.
Gregory D. Warren.
Alan Saylor.
Cody Redfield.
Bradford Coulter.
Aiden Alexander Dice.
Jar Jar Slinks.
Chosen One pledges his cadre of musketeers to House Kevin.
A whole cadre.
An early lead for House Kevin.
Do they reset every month? Is that what happens?
Oh,
Leviathan.
Up and Champ.
Jonas Engman.
Carl.
Anthony Mulberry.
The John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation.
That'll be the real decider when they weigh in and pledge.
They're a non-profit. They can't pick. They're like
They
Sweden.
can't, they're not allowed to pledge.
Elusive Koala.
Yanni Markovina.
Brooke X.
Jesus Christ.
Christian Van Skeever.
Drew Applegate.
Jeremy Lowe.
Brian Hobgood.
Zach Connor.
Patreon_donator, yo.
Joe Spooky Digital Ghost. Tierney.
Tom Whittam.
Alicia Grafe.
Andrew Jadzik encourages everyone to watch Joe Para Talks with You, especially Kevin. The Fall Drive episode is lovely. I may have added something there.
I still haven't watched it yet. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's not okay.
Lord Cornwallis.
Carson Birkenbean.
Burf EP.
Tevin Ticklebean doesn't trust dragons or any other wealth hoarders. Smart.
Are dragons the 1%?
In many ways, yes. Sean Minogue.
Rushy Glenn.
Wiggle it.
Luke LaFountain.
Chip Handsome.
Matt McClellan.
John Barber.
Jonas Blatterman.
Sarah Kemp.
Tanya Turtle.
Juan Jalapena.
Paul Grasso.
Joe Regular Name Scott.
Keith Halcrow.
Timothy Misdalakis.
Clay McCarty.
Alex Moon. The Robotic Dog.
Parker Lee.
Ham_boat.
Raymond Hernandez.
Emily.
The Crowfens, but hibernal.
Matthew Sutton.
Vincent Modica.
Luke Canoodles.
Jeffrey Owen Coy.
Hugh Bolin.
Zambambino.
Kelsey Kinnaman.
Russell Kasberg.
Javier Jimenez.
Chris Putrekis.
Scotty Pippen.
Brendan Arafin.
Dungeon Kappa.
MC Hamster pledges his gills to Kevin. MC Hamster, I was critical of the gills before, but they've been working out for us.
Zach Weir.
Limp Duck.
Stinklich.
Nathan Remick.
Need more kimchi.
Alan G. Jussum.
Tobias Clark.
Reed Stubendike.
Joey Evans.
Andre Villanueva.
Carewise Gamgee.
Swaggy Yellow Squire wants you to know that I love you all. If anybody wants hugs, HMU. That means hit me up. Cowabunga.
Thank you for the hugs. Thank you for the translation, Kevin.
Cameron Hansen.
Estamena, Lord of Paul's Pants.
Chris pledges his spectral sleepwear erection and blade to Paul.
And Blade.
And blade. Paul Nelson. That was the middle part was
Was the pledging.
You get it.
Generally depressing.
The Deadly Bulb.
Ben Bohan.
Kieran McNamara.
Diet Soda.
Jackie Ledoux.
Coleman Laguza.
Lamb.
Anthony will be running Space Kings at San Japan in Texas over Labor Day weekend. Heck yeah.
Yeah. May the cards be in your favor. A pair of Scots.
Levi Kidder.
David Gray.
Jonas Evan Voldson.
Calamity Carl.
Germ Juice.
Bryce Diuri.
Matthew Bertato.
Nick Johnson.
Carbson.
I am Cornholio. I need pee-pee for my bunghole.
Stephen Day.
Boney.
Dr. Diarrhea.
Some of Chad's bird friends, we pledge our talons and sharpened beaks to Chad.
Yeah, air superiority.
You can keep the bone mouths. I don't care.
The bone. I think everybody's a bone mouth.
That's true. Oh my god, I never thought about that. Bone lips. You can keep the bone lips.
Nicholas Maloney.
Ryan Carroll.
Jeremy Bowser.
Burgers Crunchy PB. Yes, it is still edible. Do not check the expiration date.
Never check the expiration date.
That's a life hack.
Yeah, nothing can hurt you.
If you don't know it, it can't hurt you.
Mind
Yeah.
over matter. Eric Horwitz.
Tiffany Lee.
Ninja Breadman.
Dr. Egg Drop Soup Man.
Thomas Jansis.
Megan McCormick Mason.
Peanut Berg, level 69.
Lucretia McEvil.
Mutant Astronaut.
Helodicus Frenchlin.
Aaron Lord.
Henry Torbert.
Dr. Chocula.
Adam Knapp.
Moon Juice.
Logan Derby.
Brad Schmelzer.
Chick.
Pvish.
Hood Lemon.
SSJ Trogdor.
Calum. Mr. Misfire West.
Mandy Nasty.
Llama Lad,
Skullatoran,
Yoplin,
Philip Reynolds,
Chicago Frank returns.
Napit G,
Mike Spaghetti Jones,
Ryan R. Davis.
Scott Wable.
Mr. Unimportant pledges his fake doctorate to whoever calls dibs. Dibs.
I don't care.
He's so good at calling dibs.
It's just paper. I don't care. He is good at dibs, though. That's why he gets so many pledges.
I want to hate him, but he's great at dibs.
Rocco.
Josh Howell pledges his shield and zealotry to Paul because he met him first, also because go birds. There's your air superiority.
That's right, baby.
We will peck you out of the sky. Evan Bowen.
Chris.
Donzig versus Sean Astin. The battle for Pauly Shore's soul begins now.
I don't even understand what that's referencing every time, but I like it.
Nope.
I feel like it didn't used to be capitalized.
Yeah. Greg Musto.
Soggy Newspapers.
Chris Kulik.
Dakota Kemp.
John W.
Saturn Video.
Hi, first time, long time.
Allie Rose.
Sprinkle Buns.
Kiwi of Lurv.
Serial Killer X.
Wade Norcross.
Hilda B.
Kevin, your escaped monkeys are watching you and your monkey shines.
Benjamin Luther.
Sierra Sin.
Ollie Sutz.
Kate the Great.
Mike Hart.
Dennis Wright.
Jover the Moon.
Edgar's Crassus.
Cameron Ganzevald.
Cassandra Harris.
Gulliver.
Matt Scepter.
Greg Gervasi, a.k.a. Vitizen.
Dakota Kipper.
Paul Speener gets a misdemeanor for slapping a senior tonight at 11.
Paul.
My peener has a mind of its own. I can't control it.
That's true.
It calls dibs.
Anthony Rodriguez.
B.
B.
That's you.
That's B. B.
B?
B. That last name was my favorite. That's why I said it over you.
Soap.
Big Nick Lane.
Kira and Brian are big fans.
Jeff Webb is still a big baby, but we both sincerely appreciate your well wishes.
Alpaca Acquaintance pledges their wool to Paul. Make socks, not war.
Aww.
Oh, it's a comfy
Oh,
war.
yeah.
The blade of the Goblin Grater is pledged to Robot Voice, Chad Gwant.
Yeah,
Wow.
we got the ground. We got the little mines and the tunnels.
Wow. Chiraku, the thing that goes doink in the anime.
Blake, bad time having Kevin.
Dan Antonio.
After some soul searching, I pledge my spear to Archmage Paul.
Wow, I didn't know I'd become an Archmage. Sick.
Good for you.
Thanks, man.
Spencer Y.
James Stavronos.
The Arndeer.
CM.
Farah, right?
Official Goosebuds chronicler and ledgerman.
I think there's no other name attached to it. It's just the title.
I gave them that. I don't remember where. I think I did it on the Discord or something.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't consult with us, but it's fine. It's already on paper. Jesse.
Chris Curto.
Cole Gleason.
Tan your hide.
Matthew Pipes.
Jesse Boggs.
Michael Malloy.
Grab Comics.
Kyle O'Neill.
Ghost Bitch.
Robert Holden.
Goon Cahoots.
Adam Brundell.
Wunderskin.
Anthony Stoker.
Dog Lips _ Kajoyan.
Gunnar Toland.
Brony Danza. Sorry, Brony _ Danza.
Thank you.
Brandon Nichols.
Angelo Edward Longton Santone pledges the holy blade of justice to Paul
It's melodies.
Max.
Zindane.
Funny.
Paul Sentient My Buddy Doll.
Hurt, a.k.a. Cyberbully.
Crank 2 high voltage.
Welcome to the Book of Names, Blarbin.
Your name is written in blood, Lumo Nuva.
Welcome, Brian Udith.
All will remember forever, Logan Kilgus.
The book glows as I write in Boss Ferratu.
When welcome to Cameron Reynolds.
Thank you all very, very much. We love you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for the blades.